Hello, my name is Joshua Isha. Welcoming you to the program Aqua Farming. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, this is the program that tells you about farming beneath the water. That is anything that has to do with the living organisms in the water that can be cultivated and be turned into money is what we'll be talking about. But today on the program, we'll be talking about biotechnology. What is biotechnology? Biotechnology just talks about using modern techniques to enhance agricultural boost. And we'll be talking about biotechnology in aquaculture. Aquaculture is the world's fastest growing agricultural business sector. And world fish production comprises both catches of whitefish and production through aquaculture. In recent times, fish production has steadily increased to approximately 120 million tons and contribute 52% of the total fish of human consumption. And the real money value is expected at about 401 billion US dollars, of which 82 million tons valued at 250 billion dollars. This came from aquaculture production. So now, the issue is biotechnology provides powerful tools for sustainable development in fisheries and the food industry and can be used in aquaculture to control the sex of fish. Stay tuned and take a look at biotechnology to foster aquaculture.
It actually saw the need for the use of technologies like modern biotechnology that can bring about, sustainability in agricultural productivity and food security enhancement. So technology had actually evolved with time. Of course, started many years ago. Many of the crops that we're having, like maize, like rice, and sorghum, many of them, the way they are now, in those days, when the world began, they were all like grasses, But today, they are looking better because genetic modification have been taking place. Those crops have been domesticated. Of course, they are no longer in the bush, but they are with us. We grow them and we enjoy them. So like in Nigeria, going down the history lane, in the 70s, 60s, and maybe early 80s, we never had problem of productivity. Nigeria was producing well. We had higher, productivity. We were exporting. We had the pyramids, the granite pyramids, and all the cocoa. Everything was, booming. Agriculture contributed a lot to the GDP, of the country. But with time, as time went on, 90s and the 2000s and to the present, it's no longer the same. The narratives have changed. The story is not like that. We have, because of the growth anyway in population, I think the population growth is actually the one taking toll on us. And then soil degradation, and then our land, not like before, the soil has been degraded. It doesn't give us, we have to use chemical fertilizers for our crops to do well. And we have emerging pests. We have so many pests. The fall armyworm, the stem borers, so many, emerging pests and diseases because of the climate change effects that we have. The climate change is really, there. It's real. We're experiencing it live. It's either there's too much rain or there is too little rain, and all. So, and then urbanization, because our population is growing geometrically. We're giving birth to too many children, and so we're too many now, and we have more birth rates than death rates, and so that causes urbanization, because since we have more people, more houses are being built, and the more industries, we have the industrialization, the urbanization, building of houses, offices, what. So as we are cutting down trees and, doing new buildings, farms and what, all these things, are what the main cause, of this climate change, this global warming, because God created the trees and us, and we know we have a symbiotic relationship between us, the humans, and the trees. We breathe out carbon dioxide, and the trees take in the carbon dioxide, and they give us oxygen. So, but when we have to be cutting these trees and building houses, and then building hotels, building industries, work for ourselves, as we are reducing this, the tree population, of course, we are also taking away essential parts, of our distance, and that's why we're having high temperatures. And these high temperatures are not good for us. And for every 2 degrees rise in temperature, um, there are some seeds that do not germinate. We have seeds of sorghum, seeds of rice, maize, and all. Most of them, the seeds, once affected by high temperature, they can't germinate. And so when you go to the farm and you plant, and your seed, those grains that you store, most farmers, they like to store their grains to plant the following year. And when you sow them and they don't germinate, that's it. It's a hopeless case, of course. If there's no, if the seeds, if they lose their viability, that is it. You don't have anything for that year as a farmer. And so, because of all these, problems, the climate change, the population growth, and the land degradation, so many, I can't just mention these few. That's why we need modern technologies, like the biotechnology tool, like the genetic modification, because the use of the chemicals, like to fight some of these fall armyworm that we have and the stem borers that affect maize, sorghum, and all. To fight them, we have to use chemicals. Farmers have to buy chemicals. They buy the spray, and once you spray, maybe by the time you get to the end of your farm, rain has fallen and the rain washes them away, and then that is it. You have to go back to buy and spray. So all these frustrations, drudgery that farmers, have been enslaved into. So the breeders all met, and they decided that, okay, after the discovery of DNA, the modern biotechnology tool actually is dependent on the DNA. And you people, I don't know how to call DNA, either in Hausa or Igbo or what, but I know the DNA houses the genes. And the DNA is actually the blueprint of life. It was discovered in 1953, a very long time ago, by Watson and Crick, 2 scientists. They discovered it, and then there was a woman, Rosalind Franklin, I think after 5 years. The research work of her crystallography, that's where she discovered what was contained inside the DNA. She discovered that the DNA houses the gene, and the genes, are responsible for how we look, how your hair is, how you are looking different, from your own sibling or your other friend or your words. So the genes actually control our lives. We have them in millions in our bodies and all. And so when they discovered that, okay, it means that if I have a crop, and especially beans, let me make an example with beans. I have these beans, and if I cultivate it and it starts growing, forming leaves, flowers, and pods, we have this Maruca vitrata. Maruca is a butterfly. So we have the butterfly. When it's at its larval stage, stage of development, the butterfly goes, the larva goes and eats the flower, the leaves, the pods, of the beans. And once the leaves, the flowers are gone, that is it. The farmer will not have much that year. So this Maruca is the most notorious of all the insects that the beans is susceptible to. So farmers lose like 80 to 90% of what they produce. So once 90% is gone, that is it. And that is the only livelihood of the farmer, the peasant farmer, in my village, does not have any other job than to go farm and then maybe sell part of what he has produced, eat some and then sell some, and does it and wait for the next rainy season. So if 90% is gone, he has no any other hope. And then using the chemical spray actually to scare away or to kill those insects. Sometimes, like I told you, it does not work. You spray and it rains, you have to go and buy, and the farmer does not have much money. So they now decided that, okay, let's use this, genetic modification to bring in a threat, that will scare that Maruca lever, the butterfly lever, incorporate it into the genes of the DNA of the beans, and then that is it. So this is, I'm just like summarizing. The simple aspect of it is that you have incorporated a gene, and that gene will give that beans protection, against that butterfly lever, so that when you plant, you sow your seed, you plant it, and then it begins to grow and form leaves and flowers. This thing will not be able to. When Maruca comes, Maruca will know that this thing, and maybe when it bites it the first time, it will have a kind of feeling and then it will move away. So, and once you do that, at the end of it, after changing the genetic makeup of that beans, the beans will have that protection for life. And then the seeds from that, because if you plant, it grows and then it forms grains and all. So the seeds that you are getting from that is already protected. You don't need to go back, do any other thing. So, and that gives, sustainability. You can do it for beans. You can also do it like the fall armyworm for maize. It depends on whatever. And if you want your crop to be, not just insect resistant, but even drought tolerant. If you want it to be drought tolerant, you will incorporate a trait, in that your crop, a trait that will protect it from drought, either flood, either whatever. So you can actually play around with that technology. It is science-based, it is evidence. It's, we base all our this thing on science and nothing else. It's a scientific endeavor. So, and once you do that, but then, because I have brought in a gene, maybe I can say maize is a rain-fed crop, sorghum is an arid crop. Okay, there must be something in sorghum. Sorghum must have a gene, that is making it survive in the desert. So I can now pick that, gene for that drought tolerance in sorghum, put it into the maize so that I can plant maize. I'll be able to plant maize in a place like Sokoto, Maiduguri, and all those, and the maize will be drought tolerant. So these are some of the things. But because I have done that, I'm doing it deliberately. This exchange of genes happen in nature, but we actually do not know. For every extreme condition, even us as human beings, if you go into an extreme condition and you survive, your gene, there is a mutation in your gene. Something must have taken place. Otherwise, you would not survive. That is it. And it ends there. You are safe. You're not, because you're able to be, you're not, there's no danger that will happen to you or whatever. So we are now mimicking on nature. Scientists, breeders are mimicking on nature. We're not reinventing the wheel, or we're not playing God. And to tell you, genetic modification started when God made woman from man. He took the ribs of a man, made a woman out of the man, and it pleased the man. The man was happy. I know there's all this genetic modification, So it started right from the beginning. So when you do this, but because I have deliberately taken a gene from an unrelated species to an unrelated species, so what I have to do is as a scientist, I have to, go to do some regulatory things. I have to ensure that that change that has happened, because you have brought in a gene into another plant host. So that gene, its interaction, it gets accepted in the host, in the new plant, gets accepted, and then it thrives well. But then I have to check the relationship between that gene and other things within the cell of that plant. I have to check to see, to ensure that there's no unintended effects, maybe any negative, effects in it. So we have to, that's why we spend like 13, 14 years to come out with a genetically modified crop that is safe and wholesome. So you have to carry out all safety assessments, all across, starting from agronomy aspect, and then you have to go to the food safety aspect. You have to do genetic characterization. You have to do everything, one by one. And as you're doing, you're carrying out those evaluations alongside the parent of that your genetically improved crop. That's the new crop. You have to carry out and then compare, do comparative analysis, and ensure that there's no significant difference in either protein content or carbohydrate content or ash content, or you have to do it one by one. And then you have to also carry out toxicity analysis tests, food safety, then toxicity and all, other things to ensure that everything is safe. So that's why it takes many years because of safety issues, safety analysis. And some of those, the standards, the regulations are being developed by World Health Organization, and then FAO is also part of it, Codex Alimentarius and all. So there's an international standard set up by this, and all these international regulatory bodies like WHO, FAO, all of them have also carried out their own safety analysis of any genetically modified crop or food. They have done it, and they have not found any deleterious effect or anything that can cause harm, and they have endorsed the safety of these crops. And so in any country that actually wants to go into that, adopt the technology, of course that country must have a safety valve in place, a national biosafety management agency. That's the one we have in Nigeria. And then other countries, you can give it any name, but you must have that. Develop, biosafety bill, and then take it to National Assembly, and then they pass it, and then an institutional framework is being established, and regulatory framework and all. So to ensure that each country must have that, in place before it can commercialize, give the seeds to farmers, and farmers to adopt. So, but anybody who tells you that these genetically modified crops are cancerous, they cause cancer, sterility in men and what, if you know the kind of scrutiny that these foods go through, these crops, they go through a lot of scrutiny. I think it's the most, scrutinized food in the history of mankind. The technology is an intervention tool. It's not to take over other technologies. We're not fighting with anybody. So we're not fighting with the organic agriculture. And organic agriculture is an agronomic practice. It's not, this is a scientific tool. This genetic modification is a scientific tool. It's not any, and you can only use it where the conventional technology fails, where it cannot go. That is just it. It's not for everything, yes. So it's just for me to make you, yes, understand. Yeah, yes. So you look for is solution everywhere. All technologies must come together. We welcome any technology that can enhance, food security. You know, you do organic, do this, do that, and people are free. No one is forced to eat or buy or, you know, cultivate genetically modified crop. You are at your own, you know, will. If you want, fine. If you don't want, fine. So that, you know, when you go to the shelf, you choose what you want. But all we need is, let's have enough food first for our children and the children yet unborn. We know that because the traditional technology is not really making waves, and that is why we're having a lot of hunger, malnutrition, and what. Most of the foods that we produce, like rice, we produce not enough for ourselves. They're being made here and by Nigerians. You know that you can actually, when you bring in, maybe the seed has been developed somewhere and what, and then you also want to do same, you can actually bring in the seed, but you are not like bringing in and giving farmers. You can transfer the traits, those traits, you know, in the seed that you have, you know, and then you can now incorporate, like do some kind of crosses, marriage, yeah, between our own local varieties. Our farmers preferred local varieties are usually used, so you can now make crosses. I can say, you know, that's the simplified aspect. You can make crosses so that the genes will be transferred from that one that you have brought in into your own, our own local varieties. That was what was done with the beans that we have now, the pot borer resistant beans that we have, which is resistant to the larva of butterfly. Butterfly is a maruca. Maruca is a butterfly. So, and that was, it took 10 years, 10, 11 years to do that, transfer those traits into our Nigerian local variety of beans. And that's why today we are proud to say that yes, that beans is our own variety. The technology, yeah, you could actually borrow it. The technology was developed somewhere, but we're taking the technology and making use of ours, making it ours. So our breeders works very hard for many years, because after you have transferred, you now have to do some safety assessments, do some evaluations, you know, to see whether this new trait that has come into our own local variety, is it causing some, you know, like, is it going to be beneficial or non-beneficial? What's the interaction between that gene that has come into our own variety and, you know, the host, the original one? Is it causing some other things? You have to do conflicting. You have to do the agronomy of it. You grow it and then you look at it and you see, you compare it with the parent of that improved variety. Is there any significant difference? Are the leaves looking the same? Are the seeds looking the same? Are there differences? How is the growth pattern? Are they growing, you know, together? So at the end, when you have the seeds, the two seeds together, that of the improved and the non-improved, that's the parent of the improved, together, you make comparison. Then you now take the seeds to the lab. Then you carry out other, you know, food safety assessments. Then you do toxicity tests. Then you do allergenicity. Is it going to cause some allergies when human being eats? You can first use rats, feed it to rats and what. Then you can now do your own human, you know, evaluations, sensory evaluations, give it to people to eat, make some products from it, Accra what. So it takes like so many years. So when you are satisfied, when you find out, your findings will tell you if this is fine, if it's not fine, if there is any significant difference between the modified version and the non-modified version, then that will not see the light of the day. That project will not see the light of the day. You have to discard it and go back to the drawing board. So this is done by our scientists, our own local. We're doing it the local way. They have three commercial varieties: Tailor Maize, and then BT cotton, and then BT. Yeah, we have BT cotton. It was commercialized in 2018. Then the copy was commercialized in 2019. Then tailor me is 2024. So presently we have 3 crops. So the next one we're expecting is potatoes. Potato, which is, yeah.
The lab now.
No, then the field. They've already started carrying out field evaluations, field trials. And the farmers are the ones doing the field trials.
Many thanks for staying with us on your first agricultural TV station, the Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Television. We'll be looking at biotechnology in aquaculture. Of course, like we are AC, biotechnology permits scientists to identify and combine traits in fish and shellfish to increase productivity and improve quality. Scientists are investigating genes that will increase the production of fish growth factors and natural defense compounds used to fight microbial infection. In addition, biotechnology refers to applying biological techniques in product research and development. It involves using molecules, biological materials, or processes derived from living organisms to create and practical application for agriculture, medicine, industry, society. Believe me, it was worth sharing right here on your first agricultural TV station. On that note, we come to the end of this episode of the program Aqua Farming. My name remains Joshua Ifeanyi. Thank you for being a part of it. Bye for now.